It is a sentence seen by many as retribution. Alice Bilyatsky's years of political activism earning him a political punishment. The 60-year-old was sentenced Friday to 10 years in a maximum security penal colony. The offense, smuggling cash into the country to finance protests against the government. 3 other men, also human rights campaigners, were hit with sentences of 7, 8, and 9 years. UN officials are calling for the men to be released, as well as 1,400 other political prisoners in the country.
Taiwanese F-16 fighter jets will receive hundreds of missiles and related equipment under a proposed $619 million arms sales that Congress was notified of by the Biden administration this week. The move is a violation of Chinese sovereignty, said Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning. Foreign military sales are usually state-to-state, but the administration says the proposal, likely to pass Congress with bipartisan support, is consistent with the Taiwan Relations Act. The law allows Washington to sell weapons to Taiwan to maintain a sufficient self-defense against China.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz arriving at the White House on Friday for a private meeting with President Biden. And as Kyiv and Moscow ready for spring offensives, a show of unity from the two leaders over their ongoing support for Ukraine, including a further $400 million. Washington and Berlin have worked closely on sending military and humanitarian aid to Kyiv, but previously clashed over the issue of providing tanks.
Russia is getting closer to its first major victory in half a year. In eastern Ukraine, it's the Wagner group, made up of tens of thousands of mercenaries and ex-convicts, that has spearheaded the offensive. They've called on President Zelensky to withdraw his troops from the city of Bakhmut.
We have practically surrounded Bakhmut. Only one route out of the city remains. If earlier we were fighting against the professional army, now we are increasingly seeing old people and children. Give them a chance to leave the city. The city is surrounded.
Palestinian officials say a 15-year-old boy has been shot dead in the town of Azzun. They say 2 other teens were also wounded in the incident. One is in a critical condition. The Israeli army says the boys were throwing fireworks at Israeli cars and threw petrol bombs at troops.
In this particular case, the Palestinian Authority and Palestinian health officials say that the 15-year-old boy, Mohammed Salim, was shot in the back. A second teenager also shot and is critically wounded, and a third suffered from minor injuries.
At least 12 people have been killed in Nigeria after an explosion at a pipeline. The blast took place in the oil-rich Rivers region at a pipeline operated by oil company Shell. Local residents said they feared many more had died in the blast.
A deadly fire broke out at a fuel storage station operated by Indonesia's state energy company Pertamina in the capital Jakarta on Friday. The accident reportedly took 17 lives, an official at the city's main firefighting unit said. The fire reportedly started at 8 p.m. local time. The footage released online showed the nearby residents in the densely populated area panicking as some fled with their belongings as the fire burnt down some houses. Shortly after the fire started, explosions could be heard in footage shared on social media.
A chaotic scene in San Vicente del Caguán, Colombia, late Thursday. More than 70 police officers surrounded, overpowered, and disarmed, along with 9 oil industry workers, all taken hostage. Tonight, the country's president, Gustavo Petro, confirming on Twitter that all officers have been released. The men were first taken captive after violent confrontations left one officer and one farm worker dead and more than 40 people injured, according to local officials. The protesters include the Farm Workers Guard from that rural region, demanding that the Emerald Energy oil company operating in that area build new roads and infrastructure.